The Green Bay Packers have officially put the NFL on notice after opening up the season 2-0 against the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders. And more specifically, I would say that the Green Bay Packers defense has put the league on notice in back-to-back weeks, stifling two of the best offenses in the NFL from last season. Last week, Detroit only gets one touchdown against them in pure garbage time. And this week, Washington, 18 points, matches the lowest team total in the Jayden Daniels era. Less than 242 total yards, which was previously the lowest amount of yards in the Jayden Daniels era. Green Bay's defense, there's no other way to put it, is legit and has a case for being the best defense in all of football. There's no denying at this point. Micah Parsons and his addition to this squad can't be understated. He's an absolute game changer. He's an absolute game wrecker. And he may have been the piece that was missing for the Green Bay Packers to go all the way to the Super Bowl. And I know it's only week 2, and I know that in the NFL and, in sports in general, but in football, the first couple weeks could be liars. The first couple weeks can be overreaction time. But I don't think it's an overreaction to state how good this Packers team is. They were dominant for the first 3 quarters of this game. Were dominant for the first 3 quarters of the Lions game. And the only times that those two teams moved the ball seemingly was when Green Bay was just playing defense to not give up the big play and was willing to be nickeled and dimed. But when Green Bay is playing you straight up defensively, I don't know many teams in the NFL that will have an answer for them. Hell, that's why on my tier list this past Tuesday on the channel, I put Green Bay up in the Super Bowl favorites tier with just 3 other teams. They are, in my estimation, a top 4 team in all of football. And it starts with this defense. Their front 7 is ridiculous. Micah Parsons' addition to this group, not only do you get the elite talent that is Micah Parsons as a pass rusher, who he can rush from the inside, the outside, beat your best tackle, doesn't matter. But the attention he demands makes things easier for a Rashawn Gary, makes things easier for a Lucas Van Ness. And then you look at the linebacking core, a Jerian Cooper, Quay Walker. Those are guys that in the preseason I touted as players who would have to play a big role, especially in the run game as Green Bay moved on from Kenny Clark. A Jerian Cooper, through 2 weeks, looks like one of the league's best linebackers. Their corners in Green Bay, Hobbs, Nixon, Valentine, all 3, looked excellent in this game. Man-to-man coverage when they're sending blitz, those guys were stuck on glue to the Commanders' receivers. And we'll talk about the Commanders in a little bit and why I think they may be due for some regression and a slower start. But Green Bay's defense straight up manned them up, straight up bodied them for 3 quarters. And Jayden Daniels, who is viewed by many as a top 10 quarterback, viewed by some as a top 5 quarterback, realistically had no answers. And when you look at Green Bay this year compared to last year, this team now strongly has a defensive identity, now strongly is a defensive team. But the offense is no slouch either. They are one of few offenses in the NFL that I believe is truly two-dimensional. The Jordan Love-Josh Jacobs duo makes them two-dimensional. Josh Jacobs is a top 10 running back in the sport, been underrated for a lot of his career, but is still very solid. 23 carries for 84 yards tonight and 1 touchdown. A true bell cow. Jordan Love in this game, 19 for 31, 292 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 113.9 passer rating. Spreads the ball around too. Tonight, Tucker Kraft showed maybe he's a fringe top 5 tight end in the sport. 6 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Had that long 57-yard gain, very explosive. You got guys like Wicks, Dobbs, Golden. We'll see what the health status of Jayden Reed is, but guys that can make plays. And an offensive line tonight that had 2 injuries to it, to Aaron Banks, freshly signed free agent, and Zach Tom, possibly the best player on the Packers line. Didn't matter. This team is legit. This team had injuries tonight. This team is still working through getting Micah Parsons caught up to speed and getting his back healthy. And they already look like one of the scariest teams in the NFL. you have no choice but to put respect on the Packers' name. They have shown you in back-to-back weeks against a team that was the number 1 seed in the NFC last year, the Detroit Lions, who won 15 games, and the Washington Commanders, a team that was in the NFC Championship last year with a sensational quarterback in Jayden Daniels, that they belong. And flatly, I don't care what the final score says, they dominated both games. The Washington Commanders last year were sensational at converting 3rd and 4th downs. Tonight, the Commanders were 5 of 16 on 3rd down, 1 of 3 on 4th down. As I mentioned previously, the Commanders' previous lowest total yards was 242. Tonight, 230. The time of possession, Green Bay beat them 32 and change to 27 and change. Washington dominated time of possession last year, dominated conversion rates. Is this a story about Washington? Perhaps. What's more likely, though? After back-to-back weeks of dominating two of the very best offenses last year on the defensive end, the Green Bay Packers probably have a top 5 defense in the sport. And with a top 5 defense in the sport and a fringe top 10 guy in Jordan Love, when he's at his best, I think he's clearly top 10. But when he's at his worst, he might fall out of the top 15. A very fluctuating player, a very roller coaster player. If throughout this season, and we didn't see it tonight, Jordan Love can, get a little pass happy and throw some turnover worthy balls. We saw it versus Detroit. It didn't hurt them. We didn't really see that too much tonight. If we can get the Jordan Love we saw tonight consistently, guy who progresses through his reads, is willing to throw it away if it's not there, has excellent mobility, a cannon of an arm, with that defense and with that run game, there's no doubt in my mind, Green Bay could win the Super Bowl. Green Bay fans should feel excellent about this team, should feel excellent about the win. They are absolutely rolling right now. Washington falls to 1-1 on this season. And Washington's a really interesting team. Some teams, like Green Bay that I mentioned, I think you can get a real feel for where they are 2 weeks into the season. Washington, I need more time. Washington was a team that I think was primed for regression as we came into this year. They obviously made an NFC championship last year and won 12 games after having the number 2 pick. In the NFL, as we know, typically not a linear league. Usually it's not, you're bad, you're a playoff team, divisional round, conference championship, Super Bowl. Usually it's an up and down until you finally get there, if you do. And they do have one of the league's best quarterbacks in Jayden Daniels. I do think he's definitively a top 10 guy in the sport. I think he can control a game. For the most part, I didn't think he controlled tonight's game, but I think he typically can control a game. But you look at the roster around him, a defense that's probably at best middle of the pack if Dan Quinn can coach them up there. Marshawn Lattimore looks kind of lost out there. He looks like he may have lost a step and washed potentially. But Trey Amos, the rookie pick, and Mike Sandersville, I think their corners are in a fine spot personally. The defensive line, don't love it. Bobby Wagner, still freaking Bobby Wagner. It's an all right defense. Offensively, Jayden Daniels is obviously a great quarterback, and him, franchise player. And they improved the offensive line with Tunsil and Connerly out of Oregon. But the Terry McLaurin contract situation seemingly is catching up with this offense early on in the season, at least. He doesn't look like Terry of last year. He's starting off slow. And a guy who missed training camp, that's to be expected. Deebo Samuel has been the team's primary wide receiver weapon through 2 weeks. Can you trust him to stay healthy? Zach Ertz, who the ever ageless Zach Ertz, was the team's leading receiver in this game. Jayden Daniels can only make so much happen so consistently against some of the NFC's best teams. And now, this season, you're getting every NFC team's best shot. When I look at the Commanders, I don't think they stack up to Green Bay. I think we saw it tonight. I don't think they stack up to Philly. I think we saw it in the NFC Championship. I don't think they would stack up to the Rams. They feel like a tier below. That's why on my tier list, I just had them as a playoff team. And I'm not going to overreact to a week 2 loss to a Packers team that I think could go to the Super Bowl. But I think the expectations and our thoughts on this Commanders team should be a bit tempered by what we saw in this game. The final score, the box score, will lie to you. This game was not as close as that score would suggest. For 3.5 quarters, Green Bay dog-walked Washington. Green Bay was clearly better than Washington. And Washington gets a late score. It looks close on the scoreboard, but comparatively in this game, these teams were miles apart. Statistically, Green Bay, 7 more first downs. Green Bay, 170 more yards. On just one additional drive, mind you. Green Bay, 80 more rushing yards. And Green Bay was even the more penalized team in this game. Green Bay wins the time of possession. So, when I look at this game, on paper, Green Bay dominated. On the eye test, Green Bay dominated. The only spot where it's not domination is the final score again because of a late touchdown. And shout out my Deebo Samuel fantasy managers. That's great for you, but you can't tell me this wasn't a lopsided game. And in week 1, the Commanders beat down on the New York Giants, who, without Andrew Thomas on the offensive line and with Russ at quarterback, look inept offensively. Then, short week, go to Lambeau, face a Super Bowl contender. Then you get dominated. Where are the Commanders on the scale? I need a few more weeks, but to me, personally, I think that they'll be a wild card exit. Sorry. That's where I'm at with that team. We'll see. Maybe I'm overreacting. It's kind of what I thought going into the season, so maybe I have a little bit of confirmation bias here, but I thought that the offense got stifled a year removed. People are taking Washington seriously. Defensive coordinators have had a lot of time to work on film of Jayden Daniels, seen what works, seen what didn't work. You're able to test these Commanders' weapons. Can you match up with our guys one-on-one and beat them if we send a blitz at Jayden? The answer was no tonight. We'll see. Green Bay, though, dominates. Looks like legit Super Bowl contenders. Washington, it's not nothing. It's not nothing, I'll say that. Now, as always, if you love the NFL and you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button for instant reactions to all primetime games like this, weekly tier lists, weekly video, not just weekly videos, probably 6-7 videos a week. Got you covered here on the channel. Leave your thoughts on this game in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next time. Peace.